Thank you, Courtney. Today, Georgia voters will make their voices heard at the polls as May election day is here. Statewide, that means party primaries to decide which candidates move on to November.
Now, locally, you'll see items like commission seats and SPLOST votes on the ballot. While many Georgians will likely head to the polls today, hundreds of thousands in our state took the opportunity to go ahead and vote early. Georgians turned out in record numbers during the 3 weeks of early voting in the May primary.
The Georgia Secretary of State's office says more than 850,000 people cast their ballot. That's a 168% increase over the 2018 primary. They attribute that to short lines, easy ballot access, and confidence in ballot security. Early voting numbers are also high right here in Bibb County, with over 15,000 people casting ballots between in-person and mail-in votes. Our morning reporter TJ Anthony is live outside a polling place in Macon with more on Bibb County's early voting totals and what you need to know before heading out to the polls today. Good morning, TJ. We also heard that you spoke to one poll worker about what the voting season means to her. What did you all talk about exactly?
Yes, good morning, Caitlin and Wanya. Right now, I'm outside of Northeast High School. We are so excited for voting to go underway and so excited to give you all coverage. And I spoke to one Macon resident who's lived in Macon her entire life. Gloria Battle is her name, and she said voting is so important for her. She can't even remember the last time she missed voting in an election. Get this, since the late 60s. Check it out.
I have not missed an election that I can think of since I turned 18 back in the late 60s.
Macon poll worker Gloria Battle is serious about voting. Before she retired, she made sure to even get out and cast her vote.
When I was working, I would have to come in on voting day because I could get there before 7.
She was thankful she could vote by mail last voting season, and with the uncertainty of COVID-19 numbers rising again, she decided to cast her ballot by mail this year too.
Kind of on the safety precaution side, I went ahead and requested that absentee ballot just to be sure that I got my vote in.
And this year, Macon-Bibb's interim election supervisor says the number of people that voted early in person was up.
We had a lot more people show up to vote in person, and I expect we'll have a good number of people showing up at the polling place as well.
The Bibb polling places will have sample ballots you can review before you cast your ballot too. In Macon-Bibb, a little over 10,000 people voted absentee in person, and the county received a little over 1,500 returned by mail absentee ballots. If you're voting, be sure to bring a government-issued photo ID like a driver's license, and to make sure that you are registered to vote, go to the My Voter page on the Georgia Secretary of State's website, and for all other voting information, check out their site as well. That's all information that'll be useful if you're like Battle and her siblings and want to get out and vote.
It was just instilled in us to go do your civic duty to vote. It is important.
Yes, Caitlin and Wanya. And if you want to get out and vote, polling locations like the one behind me will be open today from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And do not forget your government-issued photo ID. Caitlin and Wanya, back to you.
Thank you so much, TJ. I'm glad to see that she is so dedicated to voting as well.
Very much so.
And a shout out to all our poll workers out there. They are working hard all day long.
That's a lot of hard work that they're doing there.
We are grateful for them. All right, let's catch you up on a few other important reminders if you are voting in person today or returning your absentee ballot.
First up, you can vote in this election as long as you registered by April the 25th. Now, where to vote? As you heard, you can use the My Voter page on the Georgia Secretary of State's website as a resource guide. Log in with your first initial, last name, the county you live in, and birthday to get more information on things like your voter precinct and registration status.
Now, if you choose to vote in person and you are in line by 7 o'clock tonight, you will still be able to cast your ballot. And remember, if you applied for an absentee ballot, you must return that by 7 tonight when the polls close. For military or overseas voters, make sure your absentee ballots are postmarked by today, and they have to arrive within 3 days, so by Friday. If
you're using a drop box for your absentee ballot, call your county registrar for available locations. What if you go out to vote today, but you're told that you're at the wrong polling location or that you registered in a different county? That's where a provisional ballot would come into play. Now, the Georgia Secretary of State's office says it's a paper ballot that a voter uses when their eligibility to vote cannot be determined at that polling place. If you have a good faith belief you are properly registered in your county, you have the right to vote a provisional ballot. If your county It will count if your county registrar's office can determine your eligibility within 3 days after Election Day. Talk to them about the steps to take if you have any problems at the polls today.